Agenda items are as follows. City Commission meeting minutes for Tuesday, October 25th, 2016, and 2016 appropriation ordinance number AO-16-22 in the amount of $7,717,504.30. Any questions on the or comments or corrections to the minutes? Any questions or comments on the appropriation ordinance? Seeing none, I'll entertain a motion and a second.
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda as read.
I approve.
Motion was made by Commissioner Taylor, seconded by Commissioner Bauer to approve the minutes in the consent agenda ordinance AO-16-22. This is an ordinance, so I'll poll the commission. Commissioner Bauer.
Aye.
Commissioner Taylor.
Aye.
Commissioner Williams. Aye. Commissioner Castler.
This is for this top one.
Yes, that's correct.
Aye.
And Commissioner Martin. Motion carries. Second appropriation ordinance is 2016 ordinance number AO-16-22A in the amount of $897.75 to Taylor Crane and Rigging. This is an ordinance, so I will poll the commission after I have a motion and a second. Do I have a motion?
What's this for?
It is for setting a fan motor at the power plant. After some repairs were performed on the motor, needed their equipment to be able to take it down and reset it after the repairs have been made.
Okay. And they're the only services they will provide for that.
I don't know that they're the only services, probably the only services in Coffeyville.
Okay.
Any further questions? Mayor makes the motion. Do I have a second?
I second.
I'll poll the commission. Commissioner Bauer.
Aye.
Commissioner Taylor.
Abstain.
Commissioner Williams votes yes. Commissioner Castler.
I made my feelings known about how I'm nothing against anything. I don't want to start anything. I'm just going to, since this is one of those that were needed, I'll go ahead and vote for it. Yeah. Aye.
Okay. Commissioner Martin.
No.
Okay, the motion carries. Next item on the agenda is a special hearing, special proclamations. It's actually going to be a presentation by the Montgomery County Action Council. Tom Simpson, the intern director, will make a presentation. Tom, if you want to come up and speak, we appreciate you coming tonight and representing the Montgomery County Action Council. I know you're kind of on an interim basis.
I am.
We'd like to welcome you to our city and our city commission meeting.
Thank you. A couple of things to get out before I begin my presentation. Information for you that you richly deserve.
These all things that you're involved in? Matt?
Over the last 3 years, yes, Russ. I'm not going to go through every one of these, obviously. Well, Mayor and Commissioners, thank you very much for allowing me to appear before you this evening. I want to say, first of all, how happy I am to be a partner with you. Mac and Coffeyville go back a long, long way, 30 years or so, and we've been through a lot of hard times, a lot of good times, and I'm just happy to be a partner with you. We appreciate your financial support over the years, and that continues, and we're very grateful. Thank you. I provided for you here two budgets that, and I have to admit that I'm something of an optimist. The budget you see here for the income for 2017 are my dearest hopes. from what we're told, what we think we will receive, and then I must contrast that with what we actually got last year, and that's the second column. So you can see there's a $70,000 difference between the two, or roughly $70,000 difference. We are very hopeful that we will continue to function as an effective economic development agency for the county and for generally a question and answer period. We do a lot of just answering phone calls and questions from folks who want to start a business or folks who want to expand a business or just interested in Montgomery County in general. We're a fairly lean organization. There are 2 employees. There's the executive director, and then there's Paula Benson, whom you may know, quite an effective administrative assistant. And our expenses are pretty much equal what we get in. We are trying to build something that I think Copyville has been working on as well, and that is an incentive fund that we will have some cash available for bridge financing should it become necessary in a close negotiation with the prospect. And that's what's reflected in this budget. The second handout I gave you, this multicolor one, we went back through and just pulled from our files an abbreviated list of things that we've done since 2013 over the last 3 years. Now, I intentionally left the specific names of the companies off of this because of the concerns we have about confidentiality and being asked sometimes not to discuss those. If you have a question about a specific project that's listed, I'll be more than happy to get with Kendall and his staff to go through our files and share those with them. We have tried to remain ready and able to provide assistance to anybody who is interested in Montgomery County. We've gone out and we're trying to develop a vigorous recruiting and marketing program. At the same time, we want to make sure that, and realizing that a good number of the jobs created in our community come from existing manufacturers and existing industries, we want to make sure we're in close communication with them, and we spend a lot of time doing that. The MAC is not a high visibility agency. We like to describe ourselves as a quiet force that works to support what you do in your city government, what Independence does, what Caney does, what Cherryville does, and what the county does. We're not looking for headlines. And having said that, let me just stop right here and say I'll be glad to respond to any questions you may have about our budget, about the projects we do, about the kinds of things that we do on a daily basis. I can tell you, to give you an example, just today we met and spent time with, along with, I suspect your city did too, the SBA. The MAC does a lot of work with referring people to SBA for their advice and for their training. You may not be familiar with that, but SBA is really more involved with training than they are with loan guarantees. They make no loans themselves, but they guarantee those by other banks. And so we get a lot of questions from small business people about capital infusions, about startup money, equipment money, about operations cash, and we always refer them to the SBA as a way to enter into that system. And we've had a very successful time with that. In addition to that, we also administer a good number of state programs. The Rural Opportunity Zone program falls under not our jurisdiction, but our management. We administer on behalf of the county, just as we do the Community Development Block Grant for the county and for the City of Independence. We wear a lot of hats, but we do it with a lot of joy and a lot of pride for what we do, and we're very pleased to be a part of the effort to attract people to this great way of living we have in Montgomery County. Ladies and gentlemen, I'd be glad to answer any questions you may have. If you have concerns about our budget or about where the money goes, I'm more than happy to respond to that.
Can you
Yes, sir.
help me understand this graph here a little bit? Just the first one, or Coffeyville 2013, I don't need to know who or specifics. There may be, confidentiality
Yes,
issues.
sir.
But it says $20 million was the project cost?
Yeah, some of these are going to be careful with this, because when we're talking to an industry that, you ask them, what kind of investment are you talking about? And that usually will dictate a lot on how fast we respond to you. If you have no investment to make, then, how serious can you be?
So it says promoted potential expansion, so that mean that,
It's an existing company.
so did it happen?
I can't tell you. I don't know I don't know, I'm not familiar with every single project
Yeah.
we've done since 2013.
I did some.
But here's what I can do for you, sir. I can find out, I've got the file in my office. I would go
Well,
back, glad to look that up for
I
you.
did some real quick adding here,
Yeah,
and according to this chart here, for the last 3 years, just in Coffeyville alone, 5,317 jobs were potentially created.
well, they were sought. We went after them.
I'd be curious to know that how many were actually created with
Well,
the help of MAC.
Yeah, I think it's a good question. I'd be more than happy to get an answer for that for you. One thing about, and I'm sure you understand this, economic development there's no formula to it. I wish there were. I'm very suspicious of folks who have training in economic development, because I'm not really sure I understand what that means. It's not a science. It is almost a crapshoot sometimes, because you may present yourself in a way that gives your best foot forward. And I think we do a good job of that. But the reasons that an industry decides to invest in your community is purely private. Does it make sense for them in bottom line? Does it meet their transportational needs? Does it meet their raw material needs? Does it provide fishing for the CEO? Those kind of dictates are what determine where a company will land. We pursue every viable lead we can find. We develop every viable lead that we can. And so I'm a little bit hesitant about putting these numbers out here, because you do get the idea that we've had thousands and thousands of missed opportunities. I'm not exactly sure that's true, but it is true that you probably strike out more than you get a hit. That is a fact.
So I have a couple questions.
Yes, sir.
Number one, not this chart, but this
The budget?
budget chart.
Yes, sir.
I want to ask a couple questions
Sure.
about that. The first column with the
2017?
2017, is that the projected contribution by each individual community?
Yes, sir. That's
Okay.
it.
So if I'm reading this correctly, Montgomery County, which that would be the county as a whole, or the county government contributes
Yes, sir, $160,000.
on down the line.
Right.
The 2016 contribution, is this what you actually received
Yes, sir.
from each community
Yes, sir.
in 2016?
That's right.
Is that thus far, or is that going to be?
Well,
we're
I
still
would
at-
have an actual, we think this is about all, there may be about $6,250 out there that hasn't come in yet. That's possible,
Okay,
but it wouldn't be much more than that.
where would that come from?
I'm almost hesitant to say, but usually from the city of Coffeyville.
Okay, so we still have another.
Mayor, let me point out, this is not a done. I'm not asking you for money.
No,
So-
right, and I'm not. I'm just trying to figure out. It was my understanding that our contribution this year was not this number. It was
25, it was projected to be 25,000. He's correct. We have 6,275 or whatever it is. That is a quarterly disbursement that would be made in December.
Okay, so that's why those numbers aren't
Correct.
jiving. All right. So our actual contribution for this year will be 25,000.
How much, we pay them $25,000 this year. How much do we pay these guys that that we look for the retail, I know it's not attractions, retail strategies. How much do we pay them a year?
It's 30,000.
30,000. We're paying 30,000 and 25, so we're paying quite a bit for. And correct me if I'm wrong, but we put in there that we wanted a inclusive clause, which
That's
is
correct.
us.
Right.
Okay. I don't know if you can say this or not, but did you guys help with the transmodule project?
We were tangentially related. We just provided information when asked.
Okay. I was wondering because that, I didn't know if that was still what had happened with that. We had one time lost it and then talks and all that stuff. So I didn't know if you guys were involved in that.
Rick Thompson's in the background. Rick, have you got anything to add? We're here, we're sitting here. Have you got anything that's worthy of a minute or two conversation? I mean, I know.
Never converse for more than a minute or two. Rick Thompson, 37.
Can I, no, come on up. I just want to ask a question real quick before we get to Rick. We pay $30,000 to an outside economic development firm.
Specifically a retail recruitment firm.
About
It's-
6 months ago, right?
Yeah, it's different than what the focus of Montgomery County Action Council would be.
Okay. The Montgomery County Action Council, you guys focus on industry jobs, large scale
Primarily industrial.
operations.
Right.
Thank you.
Rick Thompson, 3775 County Road, 1675 Coffeyville. I've been a long-time supporter of Montgomery County Action Council. I was president of Montgomery County Action Council when we had our first meetings with American Insulated Wire, which today is probably not that good a name, but and Cessna. We put together a 1 cent countywide sales tax, which was the only way we were going to be able to draw the necessary funds necessary to bring those people to the table. We did that, and it voted countywide, and it was a very large number, like in the 80 percentile, supported that. I think that said a lot for the county because people at that time recognized, as I think they still do, that I don't care where you reside in the county. It's important that we work together so that there's just as many people going north. I think that was recently in a document, just as many people going north as they are south, employed. I mean, we know people, everybody knows people that are employed at Cessna and Hackney, and they come down here and go to work at Jensen, or they go to work at John Deere. I mean, it's so in today's world, a 15-20 minute commute's not that far. Having the ability to have a group, an organization, I think was visionary when it was put together. I think it still is, and that was Pearl Schmidt, John Schmidt's dad, and Harrison Johnson, which is a long-time businessman in Independence for many, many decades. They put together a vision of putting the county together in one room and put those leaders together and said, we want to create jobs. We don't care where they reside. And it worked. And it has worked for a long time. I remember when I got into it, and my generation's depression was in 1980. We lost 2/3 of my sales in 1980. And my father died in 1978. So 2 years after he passed away, I was about 26 years old. And we lost 2/3 of our sales. And businesses were closing right and left in Coffeyville. Funk, which is now John Deere, had the plant that Jimmy Taylor's in right now. And there were several thousand people. And it basically emptied. So what I'm telling you is, guys, and we had a lot of people back then. You could not buy a home in the city of Coffeyville. I had to go outside the city of Coffeyville to buy property to build a home because there wasn't any available. I mean,
Wasn't
the
any
housing,
rent either, hardly.
yeah, in the mid-'70s, it was crazy. And there was, I'd like to think 20,000 plus people because it was just packed. Those guys were visionary because when that hit, there was nothing moving. You couldn't bring anybody to Coffeyville. And, I mean, you know, jobs were short nationwide. So when they put that together, they put it together in the right fashion. It wasn't going to cost anybody a lot of money, and it was everybody working together. And it worked. It worked then. It's worked all these years, and we hope that it continues to work as a countywide organization and continues to bring jobs. I can tell you that we wouldn't have Cessna and we wouldn't have Southwire or American Insulated Wire we wouldn't have got them here if we hadn't worked together as a county. That was the only way we could have done it. I just would like to say that, funding MAC is important. It's not only just important for the communities. I mean, now we're half the population we were back then, guys. So budgets are tight. We realize that. Everybody that's involved needs to know. And I thought this meeting was supposed to be, I thought we were going to have this meeting next week. So there were a lot of people that, for MAC support that were going to be here tonight would have been here if we'd have known. I thought it was next week. So I apologize for not having more people here. There are a lot of supporters from MAC throughout the industry that know what it does and what it can bring to the table. So, I would hope that you would not only fund MAC, but, look stronger at being a bigger supporter of MAC, not only for the current, but in the long haul. I realize budgets are tight, guys, and, but, for us to continue to be, an involved party in the Montgomery County Action Council, we need to look at that. So, anyway.
Thank you, Rick.
May I respond to anything on your mind?
Yeah, I've got one question, Tom.
Yes, sir.
What, we got 90,000 from Montgomery County, is that from, where's that money, from sales tax or what?
No, sir, it comes from a half levy, a 0.5% levy.
Oh, so did they drop the
Dedicated
levy
fund.
amount on it? Why did it go from 160 to 90?
Well, I think actually last year, the estimate we got was higher than 90. What we actually got, that's the difference between what we're told it is and what we actually get differs.
So-
There's a mystery in the county accounting that I don't really understand. The number 160 I got directly from the county. I asked directly, what do we get next year? And that's what we were told.
Oh, okay, so that's next year.
Yes, sir.
I was looking the other direction, okay.
But this year we got $90,000.
Okay, I guess we should add 215 on there, that's fine.
Yes,
Yeah,
sir.
I got it, well, that's good.
Well, again, we thank you for your membership. We thank you for your support. We continue to work with Coffeyville like we do everyone else as hard as we can. Thank you very much.
How you doing on finding a full-time leader?
The board has interviewed
While you're here.
now 6 people, and I'm hoping they'll come to a decision fairly soon about
Okay, Tom.
somebody who will head the organization up, because
Thank
they
you,
need
Tom.
somebody.
Thank you, Tom.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. I'm sorry I didn't bring this up while you're up here, but I was taking all this in. It was the understanding of other people on the board or the members of the Montgomery County Action Council that this actual item would be at the next meeting instead of this one?
That's what I thought. I'm not on board.
Okay.
That's correct, yes. We thought we were after the holiday.
Pardon?
We thought we were after the holiday on the agenda, so I apologize for probably our misunderstanding on that.
So there's obviously other people that have additional insight on this topic
Absolutely. Can I speak?
Yeah, that'd be great. Actually, I didn't see you back there.
Outside in the dark. Sometimes it's better to be back there than it is up here.
Oh, I know.
Ryan Thompson, 124 Hilltop Drive, Coffeyville, Kansas. I'm currently a member of the executive board for MAC. And one of the main things that we are currently processing is finding a full-time director of MAC. And as Tom gave you kind of an update on where we're at with projects and budgets and everything, and Rick gave you a little bit of the history of MAC and where it's come from, the future of MAC all depends on personnel. It's about having the right person in that seat to be dynamic enough to sit down with the leaders of these companies that may employ anywhere from 300 to 500 to 600 people or more. And you have to have somebody that's personable enough to go out and meet and greet. You have to have somebody that knows the numbers well enough to be able to sit down and look at tax advantages and deal with how they might be able to benefit from moving to this county versus across the border into Oklahoma or to Labette or wherever it may be at. And a lot of times MAC is one of the first entities that a company will call or contact, and a lot of those contacts come through the Department of Commerce for the state of Kansas. Salaries are a big thing today. Everybody wants to find the right person. It takes attracting that right person. This is a very competitive field, and one of the things that we need the help and support on is attracting that right person. One county over, Great Plains Industrial Park over in Parsons, they've got a huge industrial park. They're actively seeking any industrial opportunity out there for job employment, and they are very well funded. Miami, Oklahoma, is very well funded down there. We have a lot of competition right around us for these jobs and for these industries. And without the support of the communities and helping support MAC, it makes it very difficult to be able to attract those individuals. It makes it very difficult for us to attract the right personnel to be the ones to go out and be the front person for Montgomery County Action Council. Directly across the border here, we've got a lot of competition, and they are getting more competitive on what they're offering businesses to come and be in South Coffeyville or in Nowata County. Bartlesville, Washington County is getting very competitive on their offers that are going out to industry. We've all known businesses that have relocated down there for one reason or another. It's a very competitive field. So, as we're up here, we absolutely would love to see each of the communities in Montgomery County do more to support MAC. It's the one county organization that has all members of the community involved and actively in participating. I'm not aware of any other county organization that currently operates that way. And I know that that's a big trend right now, and I know that you guys are meeting as city managers to try to collaborate more and cooperate more and try to benefit from each other and bring advantages to the county. And I think that's an important thing. I mean, we're a community of 30,000 people in this county, and Bartlesville has more than that in their city alone. So we have to participate together. We have to work together on this. I just would love to see the city of Coffeyville step up and be a big proponent of this, and as we are doing with all the communities, going and talking to them and seeing what else we can do to try to bring industry and jobs back to Coffeyville. So anyway, any questions for me?
I'd like to hear from these other people and what their perspective are.
I'd be more than happy to arrange that. It'd be the week after next, right?
Yes.
We can make sure we have other people here for you.
December 13th.
What's that mean?
It's not the week after next, though.
Okay, whatever.
Oh,
Okay,
December 13th would be the next
December
meeting.
13th. So can we put a follow-up item on the agenda to listen to that information?
Yeah.
Do you guys have a problem with that?
I think it's a good idea.
Marcus?
I mean, I know what I want to do, but if you guys want to listen to more, that's fine.
Commissioner Bauer?
Yeah, I'm fine with that.
I'd like to hear some
Commissioner Martin?
actual numbers.
Like to hear some actual
Okay.
numbers. Yep.
And actual numbers as far as employment numbers or
No, I mean,
projects?
just- I mean, even Mr. Simpson, sorry. I mean, I'd just like to know what actually has come of it.
Absolutely.
I mean, I know it wasn't 5,000, I don't, I understand how it works, I just like to hear some actual numbers.
Absolutely.
And we might want, any of this marketing stuff is, you might do good one year and next year you don't. It'd be kind of nice to look at, you might do a little thinking about how good you've done, Montgomery County Action has done over a period of time, I mean, you're trying to sell yourself, Ryan, you know that. We'd
Absolutely.
like to know that, because we just don't know.
It's a tough
So-
thing to,
It might be worthy of a meeting with Montgomery County and talk about it. A lot of it's in the heads, it's not on paper,
It's like Tom said, it's an organization that we kind of stand back on, where we hang back in the shadows. We develop a lot of numbers, we develop a lot of relationships. We work on a lot of the back office stuff, in all honesty. But a lot of times we're also out there in the front when something bad happens too, such as Amazon. That was nothing that anybody in this county could have done differently on that job. That was
Correct.
something that they'd already made their plans, they'd already got their numbers and everything else. But Aaron, our previous economic development director, he did an excellent job of answering those questions, of being kind of in the front and limelight of answering those direct reports from the news media and everything else. So it's sometimes a thankless job, this economic development. It's tough. So, and especially in a harder, in southeast Kansas, everywhere, it's tough to attract. We all know that, and this is where we live, and this is what we call home. But it is tough to attract business and industry. So that's where it comes into play, making sure that you've got the right personnel out there going after those every day, making sure they're energetic, and forceful on attracting that business here. So, and as far as MAC is concerned, it doesn't matter where it's at. It doesn't matter if it's in Coffeyville or Independence, Cherryville or Caney, or in the middle someplace else, as long as those jobs are reporting to Montgomery County. And if we're attracting people from Wilson, Labette, Cherokee, wherever we're attracting those jobs from, that's great. We care that the jobs and the industry are here in Montgomery County. So,
Thank
anyway,
you, Ryan.
December 13th, we'll make sure and have some information, more information ready for you.
Thank you.
Good job, Ryan.
Thank you.
I have a quick question for Tom, just to clarify. This budget you presented seems to indicate that you're operating in the red?
Yeah, no. We adjust the budget to make sure we stay balanced.
I mean, you still have a month to operate, and this says your expenditures match your income.
That will be our year-end expenditures. We'll make sure we don't go in the red.
You're not going to pay Paula next month, or you're not going to get paid, or?
Practically, no. No, we will not go in the red.
Okay.
We simply don't do that.
Okay, I just wanted to clarify.
Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. New business, appoint one person to fill an unexpired term to the Public Library Board serving until April 30th, 2018. Applicants are Brenda Kreitz, Roger Gossard, and Casey. And we're going to hear from each of the applicants. You want to go ahead and call the applicants up to speak?
Brenda Kreitz.
I'm sorry. Basically, Basically, we'd just like to give you an opportunity to address the commission and to just tell us a little bit about yourself and your interest in the library, and just communicate what your thoughts are on being on the library board.
Okay. My name is Brenda Kreitz. I live at 1210 West First Street here in Coffeyville. Lived there for about 23 years, and I've been in this community for over 30 years. I'm a regular patron of the library here. I love our library. I've visited a lot of libraries in my time, and I've always come back to ours because it's got a good feeling, a good staff, and a good selection of books. And my job every day is to work at Kansas Works in Independence, and I see people every day who are looking for work and who may or may not have good computer skills, and our website allows them to do job searches, create a resume, and look for work in their area, and many of the jobs are applicable online. And if they come from the Coffeyville community and don't have transportation to come to Independence, the library is their next best friend. They can go there and spend time on the computer. They have staff there that can help them to fill in applications, do job searches, etc. There's also help for resume writing there if they can't come to us. To me, the library is the soul of a community. It's a place for people who don't have limited budgets, can't go buy a lot of books, but want to read, want to learn. Students who are working on projects for college or elementary school, families who are homeschooling or have young children, there's programs for them. I would like to see the library continue to provide excellent programs, provide an excellent selection of books and auditory materials, summer programs, etc., for our community. So when I saw that there was an opening on the board, I thought, that is right up my alley, because I am an avid reader. I read at least 5 books a week, and I'm always on the computer. So to me, it would just be a perfect pairing. So that's why I decided to apply.
Thank you, ma'am.
Roger Gossett. Roger.
I'm Roger Gossard, and I thought about why I was applying for the position on the library board, and I realized that my place of birth was in the parking lot next to the library 72 years ago. I've been a citizen of Coffeyville that entire time, except when I was away to college and in the Air Force. I think that the library is an important service to the community, and it's important because books are important, education is important, and education has a lot to do with reading and books, and y'all have all this stuff here that you're reading tonight, and if you didn't know how to read, you'd have a hard time functioning on this commission. The better a person is educated, the better employment they'd have, a GED, a high school diploma, a college degree, whatever. The better job they get, the more income they have, and a better overall citizen they are. And books are a part of that, and so it is very important. And I'm not going to take up a lot of your time. And the other factor that I think is important that would make me a good candidate to serve on the library board and help develop policies and direction for the library is that I actually use the library. And today I decided to figure out about how much I used it, and you can print out of all the books you've checked out. And so I ran a printout, and it was 40 pages long, and it went back to 2004. And in the last 12 and a half years, there were 40 pages of books that I checked out of the library and actually read, and I counted them to see how many of those were, and it was 355. Now, there's a whole lot more to the library than checking out books and reading them, but it's wonderful for recreation and enjoyment and to exchange ideas and to learn things. I learn an awful lot from the books. I forget most of it, but some of it I retain. So I'd appreciate it if you'd select me, and I'm not going to, there are no promises. I don't have an agenda. There's no certain direction I'm heading.
Okay. Roger, are you working now?
Excuse me?
Are you working now?
Now, no, I do indigent defense for the city of Coffeyville every other Monday in municipal court. And I do indigent defense in Montgomery County District Court, Traffic Court every other Wednesday. So I'm working a whopping total of, 4 or 5 mornings a month.
So you got plenty of time.
No, I'm not really employed.
Okay, I just was curious.
Yeah.
I knew you had retired from some other things, but
Oh,
thank
yeah,
you.
yeah. I'm mostly involved in 7th and 8th grade football, basketball, track, volleyball, and activities of all my grandkids. And, last week we went to Texas and saw a high school play and celebrated a birthday of one of my grandsons. And I'm going to Memphis Friday and Saturday in a couple of weeks to take care of the triplet granddaughters while their parents running a marathon for St. Jude's. And I'm mostly just a helper of my kids and the grandkids. So, okay, thank you.
Thank you, Roger. I think it might be appropriate to tell everybody we spent 10 nights in a tent together up in Canada with the Boy Scouts. So I got to know Roger pretty well.
Boy Scouts are here, by the way.
No, no. Brenda, back to Brenda before we go on to Casey. I should ask you, are you working? I always ask applicants if they've got plenty of time.
Yeah, I'm working full-time, but I have plenty of time. in the weekend.
Thank you, Casey. No, Brenda, I'm sorry. Brenda.
Casey Heater. Casey.
My name is Casey Heater. I live at 1419 South Maple, and I applied for this position because I wholeheartedly believe in the positive impact that the library has had on our community. I have frequented this library for many, many years now, ever since I moved down here about 10 years ago. I frequented it through high school and college, and currently I'm raising a 12-year-old stepson, and the library has impacted him tremendously. He didn't like to read before, but I can see a steady improvement in his grades because we make him go to the library. He wants to go. His friends all love the library. It's a constant in our life, and it's a constant in my life, and it always has been. And I believe that I would be a good candidate and an asset to the board because I'm very open-minded and I work well with other people. And I'd like to believe that I'm as fair as humanly possible when it comes to solving problems or coming up with solutions. And I believe that the library, it affects a lot of people in our community in different ways. It affects our children positively. It provides them a safe space to learn and grow as individuals. It provides people who may not have computers or technology in their homes to be able to go and apply for jobs. I've had many friends do that. And I believe that I would best represent the interests of the citizens of Coffeyville because I am an average citizen in the town who frequents the library.
Thank you.
Casey.
Katie, do you know how many, she mentioned teens, and I know during the summer that place is packed with teens. Do you know how many teens you normally have on a summer? I'm just wondering.
It really depends on the time of year. Obviously, during the school year, we have less children and teens in the library. But usually we have anywhere from, 3 to 10 in the evenings after school around this time of year. Just kind of depends on if there's other events going around town or the weather also plays a big factor in it too.
What's your preference,
I'm going
gentlemen?
to nominate Roger Gossard.
Okay, we have one nomination for Roger Goss, or any other nominations?
I was going to mention Roger too, so.
Okay. Do you have a motion to appoint Roger Gossard to the Public Library Board?
I'd make a motion to appoint Roger Gossard to the library board.
Okay. All in favor of that motion signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed? Move to approve Roger Gosser to the,
I'll second. I was gonna say that.
Are we done with that one?
yes, it's not an ordinance or resolution, it's just an appointment.
Okay, I want to, unless you want to say something.
Roger, appreciate everybody applying. Just to let you guys know, keep applying for these boards because it is kind of, we entertain all applications. Rogers applied prior to this. This is the second or third time, and we try to get everybody as we can as appointments come up. So please keep applying because your service to our community is greatly needed. Thank you guys for applying. Yep.
Thank you. Okay.
Did you have something you
No,
needed to
that's
say?
good.
Oh,
That's one I was going to say basically the same thing.
but only better.
No, not bad. You beat me on that one, buddy.
All right, resolution to amend a small business loan agreement and promissory note for Alicia and Richard Yates for Blue Boots Clothing Company. Guess that one was rescheduled till 12/16 or 12/13 of 16. A resolution to approve a work authorization agreement with Algor Martin and Associates for design of 11th Street Inlet Reconstruction Engineering. Superintendent Thomas Osborne will make comments.
Good evening, Mayor, Commissioners. The inlets along 11th Street, a lot of them are starting to have issues around the grates around them. In the CIP program that we went and developed, I believe it was about 2 years ago, one of the projects for stormwater was to reconstruct the inlets from Luark Street to Walnut. Additional projects scheduled to complete the entire 11th Street. Again, that was the first project that was slated. Because of the clink project that we are doing, we decided that it would be best to shift that first project to match up with the clink project in order to take advantage of some of the traffic control that's already set up and mobilization for contractors and that, to bundle that together so that it's not as big of the impact on the cost and we can get more bang for our buck. So this work authorization with Algar Martin is for the design of what needs to be done to fully reconstruct the inlets on the highway from Buckeye to the west city limits. There's a total of 49 inlets, which is actually the same number of inlets that was in the original project. So there's not a big change as far as funding wise. Pretty much lines up. Be happy to answer any questions.
So this is what we were, is this the project we were obligated to do?
This was a project that was budgeted for stormwater out of the stormwater's capital improvement plan.
Okay, well,
Project.
there was we were obligated on, what, $300,000, $400,000 worth of work because the state did some work. And then we were going to do the inlets.
No,
You know what I'm talking about?
I'm not sure.
Kendall?
I'm not
Paul,
aware-
do you know?
I'm not aware of any obligation that we have to the state.
Okay. Do you guys know about that?
I don't know what you're referring to.
Okay. Well, I just remember some conversation that we were obligated to work on some inlets, and maybe I had a dream or something. I thought we were, I knew it had something to do with inlets, so I thought this was the same project.
Yeah, I'm not, I
Okay.
don't know.
Okay, never mind, I'm sorry.
Any discussion on this item? Seeing no discussion, I'll entertain a motion.
Motion.
Second.
Motion made by Commissioner Martin, seconded by Commissioner Castler. All in favor to approve this resolution R16-140 signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed signify by saying nay. The ayes carry the motion, unanimous.
Thank you.
Ordinance number G-16-02, a first reading of an ordinance to adopt and enact a new code for the city of Coffeyville. City Attorney Paul Price will make comments.
Commissioners, this has been a long time coming. Cindy did a good job writing the staff report, and I really don't have anything to add to what she said in there, but just for the benefit of the public, codification is the process of consolidating all adopted ordinances into a well-arranged and easy-to-read format. If you saw our current set of ordinances, they're in disarray, many books, difficult to find anything. Our ordinances have been codified by Unicode. They're a code service organization, which included a complete legal review to verify that all of the adopted ordinances are current and conform to Kansas law. City staff has devoted a number of hours to this project. The codified ordinances will be approved through the adopting ordinance. You'll do first reading tonight, second reading, if you pass it tonight, will be on December 13th. Thereafter, once adopted, the ordinances will be available online, listed by chapter and fully searchable. And if you go to another city that has Unicode, you can see how easy it is to find items. There's search abilities are very user-friendly. Our contract with Unicode also includes 10 printed copies of the code. This is one of them right here, as well as supplemental services. So hopefully we'll keep the codes a little better updated in the future, and more just more organized and easier to find and work with. So, do you have any questions?
I do not. Any discussion or questions on this item?
I do. I've got the new book here, Paul, and I tried to decipher it today. I had a hard time. Didn't have time to call you. But the part about the signs.
Yes.
Okay. My dad's little truck, the fences. Can we go to that portion and look at it, or is that in here?
It's in. I don't know what you have, Commissioner, but it's in here.
This is the new one. I printed it off, so it's obviously the same thing.
I believe so. I mean, I don't know.
You printed off from the link that I sent you?
Yes.
It'd be the same.
I'd like to take a minute and look at that. I mean, I was trying to go through this thing. I read 49, 50 pages of the old book, and then we had a discussion, and I realized I was a little bit over my head on trying to understand all that. So, and then I missed the last meeting, and we were about the changes, and there was some discussion about signs and fences, and can you show me what it is in here?
Well, without discussing any particular situation, section 32-16 is a new section that talks about prohibited signs. That's
Okay, I know where we're at now. I can go back over here. Thank you. To this sign issue, what have we done? Like I said, I apologize I wasn't in that meeting. That meeting came up, I don't know, 4 or 5 days, and I was out of town or scheduled out of town. What are we doing in this, in a nutshell, that affects my dad?
well, without regard to your father in particular, section A1 of that ordinance says that vehicle signs, trailer signs, signs affixed to vehicles are not to be parked on any property within a city for the principal purpose of advertising or sign display.
Okay.
That section does not prohibit any form of permanent signage normally attached to a vehicle for the purpose of identifying the owner or operator of the vehicle, or goods and services that it contains or provides, or signs that may be displayed on vehicles or trailers during official parades.
Okay, so is this language going to prevent him from doing that?
If the principal purpose for which a person parks a vehicle is to display a sign, it would be illegal to do so.
Okay. Is that a problem with the First Amendment?
No, because this has nothing to do with the content of the sign. It has to do with the manner, the time, place, and manner of display of any sign. That would be across the board.
Right.
No one
Right.
is to park a vehicle
Thank you.
within.
Okay,
a
well,
property in the
I could
city.
rephrase the question to say, would that affect anybody's First Amendment? Right.
Well, I guess,
Because I understand there was some conversation during that meeting that there would be some kickback or some problem with that. And you mentioned it, I guess, in the meeting. I was told that there would be, some kickback or problem with that as far as maybe a First Amendment right.
this is content neutral verbiage, so I think it would withstand scrutiny by a court to look at this. But, that's just gonna have to play out in the court system.
Okay,
Ultimately.
okay,
We certainly don't want to hinder a person's opportunity to express themselves and exercise their First Amendment rights.
okay,
They just need to find, a proper and legal way to do that.
okay. I somewhat understand. Sounds pretty legal, okay, from a lawyer. Thank you. I also understand there was some conversation in that meeting from Justin Martin that said that something about eliminating the grandfather part of it. There was some conversation in that meeting. Okay, maybe some of you guys can elaborate, have a conversation that Justin and maybe some others said that, will he still be able to display the signs on his truck? And you said, yes, Paul. It was, and I'm getting this information from my dad, okay? That the grandfather clause, he would be allowed to use his signs on his trucks and his signs on the fences. And the conversation led to, how can we stop that? Can we eliminate the grandfather clause? And can you tell me what you said?
I don't remember a specific discussion about a grandfather clause.
So are we not addressing that?
Well, every day that a vehicle would be parked in a way that would violate this ordinance would be a new violation. It's not like you can park a vehicle somewhere with a sign and leave it there and say it's now grandfathered.
Okay, so that's not an issue?
No, I don't think it's.
Because there was some discussion about the meeting, am I incorrect?
I just don't recall discussion about grandfathering.
Okay.
It could have happened, but I don't.
Okay, well, it sounds like it's a mute issue.
And that may have been in reference to signs on the fence on Woodland.
Right,
Which
correct.
we did nothing to address that situation. We changed
Okay,
nothing
good
about
enough.
the code that would
Okay.
prevent that from occurring.
Okay, so thank you. I appreciate that. Brings me up to this time. So now the new book comes out, the new codification comes out in December 16th, was it, or?
December 13th would be
Okay,
the final passage.
Okay,
Then it has to be published in the paper, so
Okay,
whatever
okay.
that date would be.
okay. Well, Paul, I know you've done a lot of work on this. How many hours do you have in this thing, Paul?
I don't know.
How much hours does staff have in it?
A lot.
Well, I can see
We
that.
Several
started
hundred.
this years ago, actually, and then ended up trying to use the service of the league. That didn't pan out, so then turned to Unicode.
Well, it was obvious by reading it that the new different sections, the police, the I don't know, there's so many of them. I read 49 pages and it about drove me crazy, but you're adopting a lot of codes from other entities that saves you a lot of time. And it was still a lot of work.
Yeah, you're really updating the codes. And you're also adopting by reference things like the standard traffic ordinance and uniform public defense code and certain building codes, mechanical codes, engineering codes, et cetera.
Well, it was really interesting to read 49, 50 pages of it. I saw some letters in here where the codification, that company that did it, praised you and your work and the city staff work, and I want to thank you for that. Okay? I am interested to see where we go with this sign thing. As you know, there's some discussion about First Amendment rights among some of our citizens. It's been in the paper. It's been talked about a lot. And it'd be interesting to see where that goes. Thank you.
Any further discussion? Do I have a motion and a second? Motion.
I'll make a motion.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Motion was made by Commissioner Castler, seconded by Commissioner Bauer. This is an ordinance, so I'll poll the commission. Commissioner Martin. Commissioner Castler.
Aye.
Mayor votes yes. Commissioner Taylor.
Aye.
Commissioner Bauer.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimous. Resolution number R-16-141, a resolution to purchase a vehicle for the police department. Police Chief Quentin Bromley will make comments.
Mayor, Commissioners, good evening. The police department is requesting to purchase one new vehicle to replace our school resource officer dare car, along with the associated emergency equipment and a graphics package for the vehicle. The funds that we're looking at is the alcohol liquor tax funds, which are used to assist our dare program with the various drug and alcohol education events that we do throughout the city, along with bicycle rodeos and other associated community events and programs. The current vehicle that we have is a 2010 Dodge Charger, which was removed from active police service years ago. It was assigned to the school resource officer and DARE program and was utilized quite extensively up until this point. The vehicle is currently down and has been taken out of service. Reasons to repair that vehicle and to purchase the equipment to get it back in service would far exceed the value and the life expectancy of that vehicle. We believe that the vehicle that we are currently looking at is a 2016 Dodge Ram Special Service truck that we would like to replace that DARE vehicle with. We believe that with a really nice light package and with the graphics package, it would be a showpiece for Officer Rutherford to utilize with the school program with children. We've located a vehicle through the state contract. It's the $24,000 along with approximately $7,000 for the emergency equipment and the graphics package. So I'm asking the commission to approve that resolution for the purchase of one new Dodge Ram Special Service vehicle, not to exceed $31,000. And I'm happy to answer questions.
Discussion on this item? Motion.
I'll have some discussion. You know, I don't know where exactly, you said the money comes from that. I don't quite understand. This is news to me since Friday, where I guess we had a dump truck we're buying. I got a little concerned with property taxes going up, what, 12%? How much did our property taxes go up?
This has nothing to do with property tax. This is a tax that you pay when you go and purchase alcohol within the city limits.
Okay, well, I don't know I don't quite understand all those funds. You know.
When you go and purchase alcohol.
And this is the only thing it can be used for?
Yes, it can only be used for purchasing items to educate or to basically promote education about drugs and alcohol to kids.
If that's the case, I'm all for it. I'm just a little bit concerned about all the money we're spending. The dump truck came up the other day, $32,000. You know, we haven't got our city hall and our fire and police station quite going yet. I'm a little concerned about all that, but if it's got to be used for that, and that's the way city government works, I'm good for it.
Well, I apologize for the last minute addition. About 4 o'clock is when I requested to put this item in. I was working on the negotiations of the vehicle, and they weren't going to hold it for longer than a week, and so I couldn't wait till December 13th to bring this before you.
Okay.
So
okay.
It was a little unusual circumstances, and it was a really good deal, $24,000 for the truck, for a four-wheel drive extended cab Dodge truck.
It did
police
seem
vehicle.
like that. Now, how many miles on it?
It's brand new.
Okay. It seemed like a good deal, so.
It is a good deal.
Thank you.
Additional discussion?
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded by Commissioner Martin and Commissioner Kessler. All approved, signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, signify by saying nay. Ayes have it, motion carries, unanimous decision. Thank you. Comments, or I'm sorry, city manager's report.
Mayor and Commission, I'll try to be brief. I got a few things here. I think first, everybody I think is familiar with the events today in Neodesha with the explosion. So our thoughts are with the city of Neodesha and the people that were involved and affected by that. You know, we did respond. Our hazmat team responded to that incident, and so although they're several miles away, they still have it still has an effect on the things that we do here. And just before the meeting, we had, as a precautionary measure, through the recommendation of the KDHE, we have initiated Stage 1 water watch for the city because of the events there today, and that facility is located next to the river. There is a possibility that contamination of the river occurred. Now, KDHE has told us that anything now that has happened this afternoon has been contained, but in the event that something escaped into the river prior to them making that containment, we will be shutting down our water intake tomorrow morning about 7 a.m. And then we will be operating off of storage for however long would be necessary. So the water watch essentially is just asking citizens to be conservation minded and to any non-essential watering, whether it be car washing or watering your yard, and thankfully for this time of year and a little bit of rain, there shouldn't be that much need. The city will eliminate any non-essential watering, shut down sprinklers, golf course, fountains, etc.
Is this if we do shut down the water, or from now?
We actually, the water watch, after we announce it, has went into effect. But again, it's just purely precautionary. I can't stress enough that the water is safe. Our drinking water is safe. The flows of the river, we would anticipate if anything were to have gotten into the river flows, would not reach Coffeyville before the 7 a.m. time frame. I spoke with Independence, and they will be shutting theirs down about 4 a.m. Again, just precautionary measures. And then we'll operate off of storage. We've ramped up production all day. We were monitoring this from the beginning, and we're well ahead of the situation, and we have enough storage in our reservoirs that we could operate without taking from the river for a couple of days, 3 days or so. So that Cindy has put out a notification through our various outlets, and then has also notified the media, local media, of that. We'll also tell you that if you want to examine our water conservation plan, it is available online. You can call it up and see exactly what a Stage 1 water watch really is. Again, I can't say enough that the water is safe to drink. There are no concerns. We're just being extra precautions.
So the citizens of Coffeyville should not be using any more water than they have to right now. That's what you're saying.
Yeah,
power washers, whatever.
Yeah, those types of things that are non-essential. Right. You know, if it's a nice day tomorrow, I would encourage, wait a couple days to wash your vehicle.
Okay.
Those types of things.
Okay.
So,
good. Got it.
Follow up. The windows are here for City Hall. There was a little glitch, and we expected them last week, but they showed up yesterday, and work has begun. Installation has begun on that, and So that's positive, obviously. We're moving forward, and then there's some visible signs of activity that's taking place. We did meet, staff and I met with with a representative from BNSF Logistics, and this is in regards to the laydown area at the airport. We believe that they are moving forward with the wind generation parts being utilized in that facility for laydown area. We have not received the contract yet, but they did tell us they were actively market the entire acreage that we have available, although to start with, we're going to focus utilizing the south end of the airport property as the laydown area. But there is some potential, again, for intermodal facilities, but this is just the start of it. So want to say a little shout out to the police department. They received another grant. This one's for the Impaired Driving Deterrence Program. It's roughly a $10,000, just shy of $10,000 grant, and it'll be monitoring impaired drivers drunk driving. Fire department was
How did we get that one?
apply.
Who applied?
Quinn, can you who wrote the grant?
We need some good news once in a while.
Staff. Okay. Simply staff and Quinn and staff wrote the grant, and they've been very successful in receiving several grants, quite honestly.
Is that state or federal?
I honestly don't know.
Pardon me?
Is that state or federally funded?
It's state funded through the Kansas Department of Transportation.
Thank you, Quinn and staff.
Not to be outdone, fire department, we do not have an update as of yet from FEMA on the status of the fire truck grant. It's totally, the questions that they asked of us, they've been answered, and we're waiting for that reply. They were busy this weekend. They did some live fire training at a residence here and controlled burn type of thing, which was good because we allowed our two new firefighters to get some live training, and that's always positive. And want to remind you or make you aware that we do have a surplus equipment auction taking place right now. It's on Purple Wave. There is a link to that auction on our Facebook page, and I believe Cindy will include that to the city website tomorrow, and it ends November 30th, so go on there and look at some surplus equipment that we might have. You might be interested. Commissioner, you're shaking your head. Maybe you want to go buy a whole bunch of that. But
I was thinking about something else.
There have been some questions about the activities at the West Side Walmart. Beyond issuing permits for any kind of work being done there, that's not a city activity, so we don't have a lot of information about it. But it's our understanding, the best of our knowledge, that it's being remodeled, so to speak, for climate-controlled indoor storage. I know that apparently there's a new paint job, and it maybe has triggered some rumors about what may be going in there. But to the best of our knowledge, that's what it is.
Yeah, I talked to the guy the other day, and they're putting some storage units in there, 10 by 10 storage units.
Okay. As we are preparing to bring a proposal to the commission regarding the expansion of the fiber to the home and our fiber internet service, we will be putting out a community survey, probably a Survey Monkey type online survey to gauge people's interest in fiber internet and whether or not at what price points it would be feasible for them to bring fiber to their home, and at what cost would they be willing to stand, just to gather some information. And I believe that we'll be ready to put that out next week, And so once we do, we'll make some announcements, but it'll put it out electronically on, and we will encourage citizens to go online, take that survey, to give us some information about how we could move forward with expansion of our fiber internet.
Has that got anything, and Chris, maybe you can add to this, I understand they're running a line from Tulsa to Kansas City.
And they are, they're utilizing some of our right-of-ways, and Chris has been in contact with them on several occasions on pricing, and
At this point, it's not feasible to tie in. It's
Okay,
several $100,000 for tying.
okay, okay. I just heard about it the other day and had to ask. Thank you.
Yep. I do want to remind you that we have a joint meeting scheduled with CRMC boards, and that is next Tuesday night, 6 o'clock, and it'll be at CRMC on in their fourth floor conference room. Just a couple other things. Christmas parade is next Friday, December 2nd, and I believe you all have reserved a spot in the parade and participation in the parade.
You going? You going?
Oh, yeah.
You guys going?
Well, like I said, I believe all of you have RSVP'd, so to speak, that you'll be participating. And then finally, Thanksgiving's coming up this week, so the city offices and all non-essential offices will close at 3 o'clock on Wednesday, and we'll reopen 8 a.m. Monday morning. The city offices will, or some staff will be there a little sooner. So I'd entertain questions.
Questions for,
How is community branding coming along? It's been a long time.
And I will tell you that I did not follow up with Professor Thomas this week. We actually expected him in town for another meeting that we were meeting with some individuals, and he wasn't able to attend. I don't really have a good update for you, but needless to say, it has been disappointing how long it has taken. And I will put his feet to the fire to get this project wrapped up.
The who? Put the whose feet to the fire?
The professor handling the.
That's the guy that came down?
Yes.
Okay,
Yep.
okay.
That was February, wasn't it?
That sounds about right, yeah.
What's the timeline for actually digging dirt on the new fire and police station?
Digging dirt.
we already dug some.
Well, not metaphorical, but
Well, we actually have done some work as we're relocating utilities, and you will see Cox there shortly relocating theirs. Plus, we have electric to move and things like that. As far as foundation type dirt work, I don't know if it will be by the end of December, but shortly after that, I think we have a meeting like the first few days of December to finalize the bid documents. And we're also, I believe, Thomas, are we still waiting? What's the turnaround on the NOI?
They should have received that this week. Katie, she should have. And it kind of depends on how backed up they are, how quick they will turn it around.
Okay. Like anybody else that would be doing this type of work, we're required to submit an NOI for stormwater prevention, and so we've submitted that, but we're waiting on the state's approval for that. So we have to receive that approval before substantial dirt work can take place. So again, with the holidays, it may slow things down, and they're a little short-handed as well.
Any additional questions for?
Yeah, have we looked at, so I had a few people approach me about our internet service, and they said that they've had some issues over the last 3 or 4 months, being pretty sporadic, and they've contacted Chris, I believe, and not sure that they've maybe not gotten an answer in general, but not gotten the answer they wanted to hear. I just was curious, have we done any kind of survey on how happy everyone is with service that we provide through Coffeyville.
And I don't know that we've done anything, customer satisfaction type survey. And as far as sporadic, it may, I'm not familiar specifically with.
Yeah, they just, when they said that their internet's been real sporadic, it's kind of hit and miss. When they get on, it'll work sometimes it won't. And they said, when they contacted Chris, they said that we're working on a couple other projects right now before they'll get back to the area to fix those particular ones.
Okay.
So.
That wouldn't have come from me.
Okay.
We don't have any projects that are in process that would hinder us from working on those types of issues.
Okay. Well, I can get some more details, and I'll email you with some specifics. I'll have them provide them to me.
The best thing for them to do would be to call the help desk, though.
Okay.
252-6090.
Okay, great. I'll let them know. Thank you.
6090? 252-6090 is the help desk for the IT.
Okay.
Additional?
For him.
Yeah. I have two questions. Number one question is after these windows are installed across the street, are we prepared to move forward with the next phase, or are we going to have a delay?
Well, the windows aren't, I think we have 152 windows, so it's not going to happen in just a few days. Speaking with Dennis today, he's about 85-90% done with architectural specifications. I think we're literally down to the specking the interiors, carpets, tile, those types of things, wall coverings, all that kind of stuff. We've received the mechanical, electrical, HVAC drawings from PEC. We've received those by email just late last week, and Dennis and I are pouring through those, but we believe those to be all but completed. I didn't ask for a time on when we would put it all out to bid, but still our goal that we would put the entire project out to bid by the end of this year. So as far as, I don't know how fast they can put the windows in. They're thinking, maybe 2 or 3 a day. It just depends, and so it's going to take a substantial amount of time just to redo windows. But there shouldn't be much lag in between finishing windows and starting on the remodeling.
Okay. Second question is where are we at on our contract with the building out east? The former
Sunflower
Walmart building.
We did extend the LOI for 6 months based on most notably based on the work that they have done at Coffeyville Plaza. The Shoe Sensation and a couple of other possible businesses were interested in moving quickly, and so their best solution was to buy that plaza and to put them in there because it was already established. And so, like I said, they have produced results for us, and
So we had a 6-month agreement with them, and then we entered into another 6-month agreement.
Per the LOI, there was a clause in there that would allow us to extend it if we felt that progress was being made. But I've made it clear to them that.
And who made that judgment?
I did. Like I said, based on the production with Shoe Sensation and some other businesses that we believe to be prepared to come to Coffeyville.
And when does that LOI expire?
6 months, roughly April.
I'd prefer to have a presentation to us of what they've done before we extend it again.
Well, I've already made it clear that I can't imagine that we would extend it again.
That's gonna be a hard piece of property to move.
Because it's continuing to not only sit there, but
No.
I roll by there and there's continuing pieces of it being busted up and being a major problem, and it's not doing any good setting there.
And we did have another developer who had some interest in the property, but their use doesn't conform with the East Coffeyville redevelopment plan. And so,
Had a couple of them, didn't you?
well, we had one specific one that has outlined a plan for what they think that property could be used for, not necessarily the building, but the property, but it doesn't conform to that redevelopment plan.
Could you share that with us, like in an email?
Yes.
That's all I have. Any additional comments from the public? The public is free to comment on items not listed on the agenda. Please address the comments to the commission as a body and be mindful of others who may wish to speak by limiting your comments to 3 minutes. Anybody from the public wish to comment? All right, seeing nobody from the
Mayor and Commissioners, Jake York with the Fraternal Order of Police. I have a statement I'd like to read for you guys today. Mayor and Commissioners, I come before you today representing the Coffeyville Fraternal Order of Police Lodge Number 35. In recent years, the FOP has engaged in many discussions regarding the expansion of residency requirements set forth by the City of Coffeyville. Our membership believes there is room for expansion of the current restrictions, which would provide for a broader pool of applicants in the hiring process to the City of Coffeyville and still serve the best interests of the city. The growing trend across the country in terms of residency requirements for municipalities is to extend the boundaries for emergency services or do away with geographical restrictions and adopt a form of response time requirements. Through our process, we have assembled a sample of cities in the area, not only in Kansas, but Oklahoma and Missouri as well, to see what the requirements are for their staff. One of the main issues facing the City of Coffeyville in terms of employment is finding applicants who are qualified for the positions the city has available. Over the course of the previous 2 years, the Coffeyville Police Department open positions have been as many as 8 at times. This includes dispatchers, support staff, and officers. Currently, the department is operating 5 officers short on the street and 1 officer short in our investigations unit, or detectives. The process of hiring in 2016 so far, we have received 67 applications, tested 21 individuals, and hired 1 person. That's throughout this whole year. The void in staffing has led to increased overtime for the current staff at rates not seen before in the department. It is our request that the City Commission and City staff review the current residency requirements and consider the expansion of the requirements. It is our belief that an expansion of the requirements would allow for a greater applicant pool for the city to draw from. It would allow those who may live on the wrong side of a county road but are not in the position to move to compete for positions within the city. Basically, this would help us possibly fill our voids that we are currently experiencing. Through our contacts, we have come in contact with several Kansas certified law enforcement officers who have expressed in living restrictions were expanded, they would consider applying here. As some of you may be aware, the position of a police officer requires an individual to participate in a 14-week training academy to obtain certification in the state of Kansas. After completion of the 14-week training academy, a certified officer is still not on his own to fill the void of the department. A field training period is still required to ensure the officer knows the city and is familiar with department policy and procedures. This phase of the hiring process can entail anywhere from 2 to 4 months, depending on the officer. This creates a 6 to 8 month window in which a newly hired officer is still not filling the void left by the departure of an employee within the department. If expanding the residency requirements allows the city to attract an officer from another department who is already certified to fill the role of an open position, the time frame from hiring to the officer actually filling the void is substantially lowered to approximately 3 months, depending on that officer. With the current atmosphere surrounding the profession of law enforcement due to recent events portrayed in the media, the number of citizens wanting to become officer is on the decline across the country.
This leaves agencies looking for already certified officers to fill voids within departments. As previously stated, we have compiled a list of agencies from the area, their residency restrictions for comparison. These statistics are available if you guys would like to see them. In closing, I'd like to thank you for the opportunity to speak here today and request the commission allow for this topic to be addressed to the commission's agenda during a regular meeting for further debate and discussion regarding the topic. Thank you.
Where's your statistics?
I'm sorry, what was that?
I said, where's your statistics?
I've got some here. This is what we were able to compile within a couple-week period.
Do you have a copy for everybody here?
I don't have a copy for everybody. I've got this copy if you guys want to take a look.
You can email them to us, can't you?
Yes, we can do that as well.
Can I see it real quick?
And this is a range of cities from Tulsa, Joplin, all the way down to towns like St. Paul with lesser populations than ours. Most of them have gone away from a set boundary and are now requiring just a response time. Our current policy does already mandate we have a 30-minute response time in the order of call out that we are required to be from home to the station in.
So basically, you're wanting to change, with all that said, you're wanting to change our radius that we can hire people.
Right. We believe an expansion would allow us to get more applicants each
And
time.
what is it now?
Right now, we are restricted to within the school district. And I have a map here actually that illustrates it if you'd like to see that. It also has Independence's current restrictions. They're the ones in yellow, ours are the ones in red. As you can see, the Independence restrictions are about almost double, it appears on the paper, of what ours are.
Isn't this an item in your contract?
It is a contract item, I believe, yes.
Have you already signed a contract?
For this year, we have not, no.
I don't believe that's a contract item.
It's a city,
Yes.
it's an ordinance?
We discussed this about a year ago.
Yeah, I'd like to.
I know we have tried to discuss it in the contract negotiations. That's why I was under the understanding it was a contract item.
So can it be a contractual item?
I guess it, I don't know, probably, yeah.
I believe there have been some court cases, and Paul might be able to look into this, that have said actually if it's a requirement of employment, it should be negotiable under contract. So I did find one article that listed that, but I haven't checked the validity of it.
So is that something we could discuss? Our position on that if it's entered into the contract, and that's obviously something you wouldn't want to discuss in a public matter if it's a part of a contract negotiation.
Oh, I think it could be discussed publicly without any issues.
Pardon?
It can be discussed publicly regardless if it was a contract negotiation.
Publicly a year ago. It was a quite lively discussion, if I remember.
I'd like to know more about it.
Well, can we find out when that date was? Last time, I'd like to know just for curiosity. I don't need it right now, I did like to know something.
I honestly don't know that we would have it written down that we had that discussion. Yeah, I just I don't know that it was I don't know that it was a topic on the.
I don't remember, but
it has been discussed in a meeting. I don't think it was on an agenda.
I remember it.
I think it was just something that was brought up.
I believe it was during a comments.
Because I didn't remember it, that's why I'm asking. So, but anyway, it doesn't make any difference, really.
I would be willing to discuss that specific issue. However, I think if you discuss that issue, you're going to open the door to not only discussing it with the FOP, but you're going to be discussing it with the
Right.
All
Firefighters
in-
union.
I mean,
and
all
the
employees.
Electrical
All
union and every union that's a part of the city.
Not just union.
Yeah,
Or-
all employees.
Everyone.
So that's what you gotta think about, of course.
But if it's not an ordinance and it's a issue if it's a contractual thing, then the city's position may be, yeah, we're willing to open up the living boundaries, but what are you willing to give up?
Right. And we understand that. This is merely us asking for the conversation to be held at least.
So you see what I'm saying? Is that if we're willing to give on, if it's a contractual issue, we're willing to give up something, then you're going to have to pony up too.
No, we understand that.
And that may be anywhere from overtime benefits to vacation benefits to whatever.
Yeah, and that would be something that, if it came to that, we would take a look at and decide if this is in our best interest. So would the city, so.
As an employee that works under a labor agreement, I would much rather have something like that under a contract, because this group here changes.
Right.
And I think we know my opinion.
I'm being
You're
told
probably
that-
better off over there.
It was almost a year ago, December 8th of 2015.
So, but the thing is, if it was under a contract, in the contract, then it could be negotiated, just like I said. Yeah, you can expand the boundaries, but you're going to give up X, Y, and Z. And that goes across the board for everybody.
Well, contracts expire December 31st. So that would take a lot of negotiation between now and then to get that.
Or you just agree to continue with the existing contract until that's in there.
Contracts extend all the time. That's where I would recommend you go.
So let's talk about it at the next, let's talk about it. Talk about it further. Is that something we want to talk about, or is that something we just don't want to even approach? Or I think we ought to approach it. I think the living requirements are kind of restrictive. And
Okay, well, they're talking a 30-minute drive time, legal drive time.
Right.
That includes Oklahoma.
Well,
Are you prepared for that?
The thing is I don't think that you're not going to live in Oklahoma.
No, I mean, we're-
in
Yeah,
Kansas.
but you
That's
can't
just-
do-
We're
I
looking
mean, you
for
can't-
reasonable.
I know where you're going with this. That's another can. You know my opinion. I'm going to have the same opinion I had a year ago, and you got a
You
very
could
good
probably
point.
even be out of county and in state and be out of county.
You could argue that if we weren't up against the state line, that our footprint would be just as large as Independence's. If you was to, extend it south as far as we extend it north, but we have a state line here, a boundary. And I don't think anybody here wants people in Nowata County working for the city. I don't believe, I know I don't, can't speak for the rest of you. But I would argue that our footprint would be just as big as Independence's, not given the fact that there's a state line a mile south from where we sit right now.
And I'd be remiss if we open up this discussion that we don't include all employees.
It need to be every department.
Well, that's what we just said.
Well, you said put it in the
Well, our-
MOAs.
I think
Okay.
each department needs to ask for what they want. Just because this man's got the wherewithal to ask for it and they don't, that's not really on us. That's on their union heads.
I'm willing to discuss it.
I'm willing to discuss. I want to hear pros and cons, and I want to hear everything I possibly can. What everybody else does, what works, what. I don't.
Well, I guess in this situation that you need to balance against these other places, how many openings do they have and are not able to fill? You said we had 67 applicants.
Correct.
20 came and took the test. That's not on us. I don't care where you live. You still got to show up to take the test. And we've only been able to hire one of them because they've failed in the steps. That has nothing to do with where they live.
So you have applicants, is what you're saying.
We've had applicants. Now, would that expand the pool? Possibly. I'm not saying it will. It won't.
I
But
will
it-
say those 67 have been over, I think, 4 hiring processes. Is that correct, Mayor?
Mm-hmm.
You know, the 67 applicants we've had, that's been over 4 process, 3? Okay. So 3 processes. Some of those I know have been repeat applicants that have taken the test multiple times and may not have passed.
Now, we have made some adjustments. We did change the test.
Right.
We thought that maybe the test we were using was ridiculous. I don't know that, tried to increase the number, at least past the first step. But many of them, once they pass that, wash out in the background, the psych evaluations, the credit history, all those things that go into selecting a good officer. And I don't know that we're opposed to it. I did tell them, I think, in the negotiations that he was talking about, that the last time this was brought up, it was brought up to shrink the residency requirement to city limits. And, I cautioned them that opening that discussion could make that go the other way. Nothing says it has to expand or stay the same. It could go, smaller. And that was the last discussion that we had. There was some movement to make it within, all employees had to live within city limits.
And that's a possibility that you come up with if you open that discussion.
Absolutely, and that was the discussion we had with the unions, that
Because
I personally was
theoretically, if we-
hesitant to do that.
Theoretically, if we broach this topic, you could end up
Yeah. And we
making it more
understand that, but
restrictive.
We think it warrants a discussion on it at the minimum.
Well, I'm willing to discuss it. I don't want to discuss it tonight because,
Well, obviously, yeah.
but I'm
This is
willing
just
to.
us approaching you guys, letting you know this is something that we are interested in talking about.
I'm willing to discuss it, but you also have to understand that by discussing it, you also run the risk of three of the 5 of us saying it needs to be more restrictive.
Right. No, we understand that. So,
Okay.
yeah. Thank you.
Thanks, Jake.
What do other cities do and why? I'd like to know more. I mean, we can talk about it later, but I'd like to know more about it.
Excuse me, Jake, can you email that information to me that I could disseminate to the commission?
Yeah, I can get it to you.
Okay, thanks.
Any more public comments or?
Additional public comments? Seeing none, we'll move forward. Comments from commissioners and staff. Any comments from the commissioners?
I have one quick question. Probably should have asked it earlier. Who owns the Longfellow property, the old school?
I don't know what the Longfellow property
The
is.
old school on Elm.
The 14th and
Down here?
Willow, no.
Just a church, I think, owns it.
Do you have any plans for it, or?
I don't know.
I hate seeing it sit there in that disarray. It's been there for years, and I just want to know what they're going to do with it, or if they're actually going to.
I thought Acme Foundry owned it.
I thought they
They
did
owned
too.
it at one time, but they sold it to some church organization.
Oh, really? Decided they didn't need it.
I mean, at one time it was a nice, proud school. I'm a little biased because I went there, but I know it's something that's vines are growing all over. I like to see some motivation to see what they're doing with it at least.
I guess as long as it's falls within, the codes and we don't have much authority to press them to do anything. We have to, if they're keeping it, keeping up the facility, the grounds or whatever. I don't.
I understand where you're coming from. We have a lot of buildings like that in this town, and it's kind of an eye for there are some buildings I could rattle off that probably I wish they'd hurry up and do something. But if we're that way, then we're that way.
There may be, we've had some discussions with a housing developer who's looking at old buildings. I don't know if that would fall into something that could be renovated into
I thought at one
apartments or
time there was
something.
something wanting to go around that area with housing development, but that was a long time ago.
I don't, I'm not aware of that.
Okay. That's all I wanted to know.
I've got something. I want to, we've had a couple no votes here and there for, well, the appropriation ordinance tonight, AO 1622A. We had a no vote from a commissioner, and another commissioner hesitated. And we went through the same thing a couple months ago, okay, with not wanting to pay a bill. And I'd like to see if we can, and when they were asked the question why, they really wouldn't give an answer, they wouldn't give an answer. And it's my understanding after doing a little research that some of the different committees, Board of Appeals, different things, when they, like the zoning, when those people come forward and the commissioners vote no, they have to tell them why. And I'd like to see some kind, I don't know if I need to, try to make a rule out of it, but I think we should have a reason if requested by another commissioner. I think we should have to explain why we're voting against something. You got, the public might have seen, and this commission might have seen, that when I vote no, I usually give a reason, especially when I'm asked. And I'd like to see, how do you go about that? Just make it a motion to make a new rule? I'd like to look at that, because it's...
I suppose you could adopt a code of procedure. That's what comes to mind.
I'd like to move forward with that somehow, Paul.
You take the majority of you to favor that, and then if three of you are in favor, we'll start working on something.
So do I need to make a motion here, or wait till the next meeting, or?
I just like to say, each one of these commissioners are held accountable to the people who elected them. I don't hold myself accountable to you, nor do you hold yourself accountable to me.
Right.
You hold yourself accountable to the people who voted you into this position.
Okay.
So therefore, as far as making a rule to where a commissioner is forced to give you a reason as the reason why they voted in a specific way, I mean, I just don't, I don't see the purpose in that, because it's just futile. It's not going to go anywhere.
Well, I understand there's rules with the other committees that they do that, and they have to.
Well, I think with respect to zoning decisions, that's true. That the commissioners are required to state their reasons for voting a certain way in order to make a record of that in case that decision is appealed, and to make sure that the decisions are based on appropriate grounds. I don't know of any other scenario where a voting member is required to give a reason for the way they vote.
It seems to me like they should. I mean, I always do. I mean, I feel like the public needs to know why.
And that's your prerogative,
Right.
of course.
Do you agree that that would be futile? I mean, we're
I
just
think
trying
it
to
would
bog down
I
the...
think it would bog down your meetings. I think like the Kansas legislature, when they vote, they cast their vote.
And that's it.
Yeah, that's it. You move on.
And the thing is, Jim, is, in theory, I see your position, and I understand your frustration. I can honestly say that I don't share in your frustration, but it is what it is, and the standard answer will be because my constituents said that's the way I should vote. There's your answer. So, if we want to stand up here and see, if you want us to stand up here and say, okay, I voted this way because my constituents told me that's the way I should vote. Well, there's your standard answer on every single vote that we take. So, I mean, you're just accountable to the people who put you here. And if
Well, that's really what I'm trying to do, I guess, is to shed light on that, and get to the bottom of the issues, you know? I mean, when it came to the things I voted no, I've always talked about it. I wouldn't want it any other way. I mean, I would. But anyway, I guess that's enough discussion tonight.
And I would say in regards to the appropriations, those appropriations are expenses that have legally been incurred. You know, we have an obligation to pay those expenses. And
do you know of any reason why we wouldn't want to pay one? I mean, unless it's some personal thing, or I'm trying to get to the bottom of it.
And I'm not, I don't know about reasonings, but I'm just saying, for us to not, pass or approve those.
The thing is we've already been down this road, Jim. You know,
and it's still going on. We still have.
And the thing is that that's just where it's at. That's just where it's at.
You got any comment?
No, I mean, I agree with Chris. We've been down this road. We've had the discussion. Let's move forward. And,
okay, I'm fine with that if you guys are.
But as, you know, I think it's important that I state this. We utilize Taylor Crane Services, has nothing to do with the fact that he is a commissioner. We utilized him before he was a commissioner. We'll utilize him after he's a commissioner. We utilize the people that are best able to service the needs that we have. And that's it. It has nothing to do, you know, with his seat on here. And so we're not giving preferential treatment to them. But they have a very limited, you know, there's very limited people that do the things that his company does, especially when it comes to lifting and heavy hauling and things like that, that the city just doesn't have the equipment to do some of this work, and we need those expertise.
And for the record, if there's any true concern about conflict of interest, you know, our business would be glad to do it on a bid basis, and we'd be able to get a lot more money than the hour because we're right here. Yeah. That's not the case. Now, that could be proven through documents and bidding and set up some procedures. We could get twice the money. We could have got $2,000 for that job instead of $800. That's not the issue. I think the people see what's going on, and it's not right, and I want to expose that. You know, I think it needs to be talked about. It's childishness, and I'm just trying to figure out some way to expose that to the citizens of Coffeyville. And I don't have much support.
Yeah.
I don't have much support. A lot of money. And it's not right, and I just got to say something about it. You know, there's never been a problem with Taylor Crane and the city. There's no love lost there, I can tell you. We have a lot of respect for staff at the city and working with them. They bring their trucks down, we send our cranes up. It's great. But then you get up here and you got some of this childishness to work with, and it's just that, I guess, childishness. And you know, I vowed to work with them, and I'm trying to, and they're going the other direction. And it's very aggravating to a businessman. So I've said enough. We'll move on.
Any additional discussion? Move to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.